12:30 on Saturday. This one I'm actually quite pumped for. I like this match a lot. Newcastle -163 hosting our West Ham. The Hammers +500. The Jaws +275. This is the spot I think I've been waiting for all season long, where you're going to be catching Newcastle getting respect from the market against a team that is, I don't want to call them a sleeping giant because they're not a giant. They're sleeping mid-table club. They're 16th right now, West Ham, but you look at their expected points, they should be between like 9th and 10th. They are one of the best defensive teams in the Premier League. They have a positive expected goal differential on the season. At some point, West Ham's they're gonna pull one off. They're gonna pull off what they did to Liverpool last season. I like the spot for it. 5-1 on the money line. David Moyes, another Moyes masterclass. This time coming in the Northeast, close to his native Scotland. So give me Moyes' men charging up the table. It looks like the Hammers are gonna start doing so. West Ham, team of the podcast. BJ, what do you have?
Yeah, I like West Ham. I'm going to go +0.5 at +135. I mean, the low block is still very effective. Allowing a 1 non-penalty expected goal per 90 minutes. Like, they're actually playing a little higher average defensive line than you'd think. It's about 43.7 yards away from the goal, which is just a little bit higher than Tottenham, to give people a perspective. But the thing about West Ham is they're providing just no resistance whatsoever. They're basically just defending their penalty area. They're 19th in pass per defensive action and 18th in high turnovers. But, this is something Anthony's mentioned a few times on the podcast. When Newcastle is at their best is when they're the ones playing in transition. They're letting you have the ball, and they're trying to win the ball off you by pressing you high. Well, that's not really going to happen in this match because West Ham is going to play so deep. And what you're starting to see with Newcastle is now that they're a top 4 team, teams are not just willing to play these open type matches against them anymore. Now teams are saying, nah, you're going to have to you're going to have to break down this low block. We just saw it. Obviously they won 2 matches against Southampton in the EFL Cup, but the last time they were out in the Premier League, they drew Crystal Palace 0-0. You could say, oh, they were unlucky. They did create 1.2 expected goals. But that was off of 16 shots, and only 2 of their shots registered an XG rating over 0.10. And now they're going to be without Alexander Isak. Bruno Guimaraes got a red card in the EFL Cup today, so he's not going to be in this match. So now your best striker and your best ball progressor are not going to be available trying to break down a top 5 defense in the Premier League. And West Ham has been above average at playing through pressure. And one thing that Newcastle and why they've been so good is they essentially force you to play the ball out wide, and then they set these pressing traps on the side of the pitch. They win the ball back and they get it going forward. Like I already mentioned, like West Ham's not really going to fall into that type of trap, and they are pretty good at playing through pressure. They also have the second highest direct speed in the Premier League, which just shows how good and capable they are on the counter. And since September 1st, I mean, West Ham's created at least 1 expected goal in all but 2 matches. So the offense is there. The offense is due for positive regression, and this is the spot. So especially, obviously you're getting Newcastle on short rest as well, having to play Southampton in the EFL Cup. So I agree with you guys. It's David Moyes' West Ham +0.5 at +135. I do like the +1, but I'm going to need -110 or -105 to play that. So instead, I'm just going to chase a bigger price on West Ham +0.5 at +135.
Yeah, I mean, -120, 125 right now on the +1. I love it. It's one of my favorite spots of the year, to be honest, in terms of like the situation. You have a desperate West Ham team trying to fend off relegation. On the other side, I mean, it's not just that they played in the EFL Cup, BJ. They won and are going to Wembley. The club hasn't been to a cup final since 1999.
And they're going to win it too.
They might. We'll see. I know they're playing United, so you're going to be betting Newcastle, but we'll see. So that's next month. We'll talk about it then. But I mean, that's a huge win. And now you're at home against a lower level team when you're kind of sitting pretty, feeling good about top 4 chances right now. I think this is a classic letdown spot. You mentioned Guimaraes being out. That is huge. I mean, he's their best ball progressor, best ball winner. Like, he does everything. He's such a good player. We talked about that the minute they signed him. We're like, oh, that's a hell of a bargain for Bruno Guimaraes when everybody in the world needs a midfielder. And this guy was just sitting there for pretty cheap. But yeah, I mean, West Ham catching a goal here, you talked about it. Imagine saying at the beginning of the season that Newcastle would be laying a goal at West Ham. Also, imagine saying that when Arsenal laid a goal to West Ham on Boxing Day, that, hey, Newcastle's going to lay the same number, like a month later. It's a lot of helium in this market for Newcastle. And like, they're very good. They're very impressive. But the question is, and it's kind of funny you said that too, because what happened last year with West Ham, they played really well at the beginning of the season, and then teams started treating them like they were a respected top 7 team. And then that's when they started to regress back toward being just like a mid-table team. I don't think Newcastle will go that low because their talent's better. They have better players. But like, I think you're going to see a little bit of regression, and you already started to see it. So yeah, West Ham +1. I love it. My favorite spot of the weekend in terms of sides.